It's the Whisky Wizard.
Hey Whisky Wizard, congratulations on your 100th episode.
Thanks for all the knowledge and all of the wonderful whiskey.
Slanjava.
Congratulations, Whisky Wizard, on your 100th episode. Fantastic character, fantastic show, educational, fun. I look forward to the next 100 episodes, and congratulations, Wizard, and thanks, Doug.
You know, for a Whisky Wizard, he's not a bad health and safety guy. All the best, and congrats on your 100th.
Hey everybody, Dan Ruth coming to you from sunny Royal Oak, Michigan, just north of Detroit. Sitting out on the porch enjoying a nice cigar. I wanted to give a quick shout out to Doug and everybody over there at the Whiskey Round Table, and congratulations on the 100th Whisky Wizard episode coming up. It was a great time that I had to be able to participate in that show, and looking forward to its continued run. Congratulations everybody, good job Doug.
Well, I understand we have the 100th episode of the Whisky Wizard coming up. Congratulations, Doug. I have really enjoyed what you put together there. Really creative, very informative, and quite frankly, very professional. I look forward to the next 100 and keep up the good work. You are the man.
Hello and welcome to the Whisky Wizard, where we say that whiskey making takes scientific knowledge, an artisan's skill and dedication, and a bit of the wizard's alchemy of light, air, earth, and fire. Welcome. It's a bit of a milestone for the Whisky Wizard. This is the 100th edition. So I thought about what I should do for this episode, and I decided I should treat myself to a tasting of my favorite whiskey to date, the Col Ila 18. I had a bottle I obtained in Scotland a few years back, placed on the shelf for some special occasion. But I recently obtained two more that I found online, which freed up the original, so to speak, for me to revisit it now after over a decade or so since I last had it. Col Ila is derived from the Gaelic meaning Sound of Islay, or Islay Strait, as the distillery overlooks the strait between Islay and Jura. It was founded in 1846 by Hector Henderson. The distillery is now part of the Diageo Spirits empire. Col Ila, according to their website, is one of the lighter Islay whiskeys, pale in color, with peaty, floral, and peppery notes. In addition to being sold as a single malt, it is used heavily, around 95% of their production, in its Johnny Walker's premium blends. Different expressions of Col Ila have generally rated high at spirit ratings competitions. The 12-year, for example, received 2 double golds, 3 golds, and 1 silver medal from the San Francisco World Spirits Competition between 2005 and 2010. It also received an above-average score of 90 to 95 from Wine Enthusiast in 2005. The 18 and 25-year expressions, though not as frequently rated by outside agencies, have also tended to score exceptionally. Sitting along the coast from Port Ascag, Col Ila looks out over the Sound of Islay and faces towards the Isle of Jura. Despite its proximity to civilization, it is relatively hidden thanks to the steep descent down to the distillery from the main road. Now, it's the largest distillery on the island, producing double that of even Lefroy. With both peated and unpeated single malts produced at the distillery, there is a range of whiskeys available from the fresh and bold to the dusty, aged, and elegant, with both official and independent bottlings picking up fans around the world. Well, okay, without further ado, let's get to it. Okay, well, so here we are in the Wizard's Den, a little different setup today. I have with me my son Cameron and producer Zach, both of whom are big Islay whiskey fans, and so for my 100th Wizard episode, of course, as I said, I wanted to taste my favorite whiskey, the Caol Ila 18, and I haven't had it in probably 12 to 15 years. I can't remember exactly. I got this whiskey originally for a friend's birthday 20 years ago or so, and we sampled it that night, and it's, you know, that's when I concluded it was my favorite whiskey. I've had it one other time since, when we visited Scotland, and was able to pick up some more. Anyway, been hanging on to this for a special occasion. I have a few more, so no worries. But we're going to taste my favorite whiskey tonight to celebrate. What else could I do but to celebrate my 100th Wizard episode by tasting my favorite whiskey in the world? So thanks for being here with us. We'll do the tasting, we'll do the normal thing, the nosing, the tasting, and we'll give our impressions, we'll give our scores, and let's just see if, you know, this is holding up to the test of time in terms of my love. So
yeah, we'll have to see, because, you know, if it tastes the same as it did, you know, that long ago. Like, I've heard I've heard a lot of people say that, you know, even though it's the same thing, because obviously it's not exactly the same, it's never truly exactly the same. But
you mean different mix of?
Well, just slightly different mix of barrels, you know what I mean? They're always aiming to do exactly the same product, but that's a real art, you know, the art of blending the barrels to make that consistent.
And despite the distiller's best efforts for consistency, right, there's always some variation
over time and all that. So.
I mean, he's been talking it up for a while, so I'm excited personally.
I'm excited too.
When we talk about the Whiskey Roundtable scoring system, we often do, you know, talk about the 5, and do we ever know of a 5? And I always say that if I had to guess, I would say yes, it's my Caol Ila 18, because by definition it's the best thing I've had, at least in my mind. So, but we're going to give her another try today. I also want to mention that I'm drinking today's Caol Ila out of my special Caol Ila Glencairn glass that my daughter Lindsay got me for Christmas a couple years ago. So I've been saving it for this moment when I next drank my 18.
It's official.
Yeah. So here we go.
So should we start with the color, do you think?
Yeah,
Just noticing?
And you know, we've got our lighting and everything here, so everybody could see both of my cabinets. You don't usually get to see that in the normal Wizard broadcast, but
the cinematographer in me does need to mention the lighting is a little bit warm, so to our eyes it'll look a little more saturated probably than it actually does. But
well, it's fairly light, like a lot of Islas. I think it's a little bit darker than I was expecting, and again, it is an
18-year-old whiskey, so yeah.
And you know, we've talked about this, but again, I do agree that I think if you really want to know what at least a Scottish whiskey distillery's best expression is, you know, of their mainstay whiskey, it's to try it at 18 years old. That's usually close to the peak for Scottish whiskey, and there's slight variation depending on, you know, the gravity of the original spirit and other environmental conditions. But
yeah, I definitely agree. I think they get about as good as they're gonna get. Oftentimes I do find you try even the older whiskeys and they're not as good, because of the whole 1 drop rule, where if there's any drop of whiskey in there that's not at least 18 years old or 21 years old or 25 years old, they can't put that on the bottle, on the label. And sometimes as a blender, I can understand why you might want to have a little bit of that younger spirit to make a particular expression. So yeah, all that is to say that I think I agree. It tends to be about 18 is really like, I think, the golden number in terms of Scotch whiskeys.
Yeah.
Of course, there's definitely exceptions to the rule, but just kind of, in my experience.
No curve will be the same, but if you had to make a general curve for Scottish whiskey, it would peak about 18 to somewhere around 18. So I think we beat that up enough. But color again, it's a little bit darker than I remembered it. Certainly the Colila 12, which we have done on the round table not too long ago,
I mean, with that extra age, though, I would expect it. I was actually expecting it to be a tad darker. It's got a lot of depth to it, but it's got that light tan color, almost caramely.
The 12 is almost clear.
Yep.
Like it's very, very light.
So is the 15, actually. I have their 15 cask strength that they released. That's also very, very light.
As I recall, the first two I bought after that original one were when we were in Isle of Skye at the Talisker distilleries. Am I remembering that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's where we got it.
So I guess they're both owned by Diageo?
They are owned by Diageo.
Okay. That's why they were selling
that's why
it.
That's why it's part of the classic malts selection,
right,
which is a Diageo thing of the classic malts of Scotland. Yeah.
All right. Well, it's time. Let's. How about we nose this bad boy?
Ooh, very mellow, actually. Definitely an Islay, but
there's a lot of depth there, though.
Yeah, it's deep. It's deep, but it's not like an Islay that's just right in your face. A lot of Islas are you can smell them the room over. No. But this one's you gotta kind of get in there a little bit, and then it kind of opens itself up.
It's not a Kilchoman.
Yeah, no, it's not Kilchoman or Lafroig or Lagavulin.
Oh man, I get that.
But it's there.
You're not overwhelmed by peat or ethanol, but both of them are in perfect balance.
Yeah. Definitely a little peat.
I'll go first on this, and then we'll switch up the order for the tasting. Okay, so I'm getting lots of honey, butterscotch, and then vanilla, and then there's definitely iodine in there, and again that oceanic salt.
Yeah.
It's typical of Islay whiskeys, and there's even some light fruits in there, and there's even some dark fruit that I can't put my. It's just kind of intoxicating.
Yeah,
I just want to keep nosing it.
Yeah, it's nice because it's really complex.
It is. It's fun to. Yeah,
I guess
we'll bore our audience if I spent enough time to really
give it the time it deserved. Get in there.
Well, I guess for me, I definitely first going in, first thing I smell is the peat. There is peat there, but it's not nearly as strong, like I said, as you would expect from most Islay Scotch that's presenting itself, in a classic Islay character. That is the first thing, but very quickly, once you get accustomed to that, it gives way to the. Yeah, I definitely get a butterscotch. An iodine is in there too, which I think is kind of just that sea smell.
It's the bromine.
Yeah.
Peat. The peat's got a lot of bromine in Islay, so.
It definitely has a bit of that. I definitely get way in there. It does have a much sweeter nose. The vanilla, the caramel. It's definitely a bourbon cask, 100% bourbon.
Yeah, it's not been in anything but a bourbon cask. I would certainly.
And I get a little bit of apricot.
Yeah, that's the light fruit.
Yeah, a light apricot. Maybe you could say golden raisins, but that kind of flavor.
But it has that definite sweet aroma that you get from apricot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really sweet is really how I would describe the nose, actually. It's got the Islay, it's got that peat, it's got some of that sea character, ocean character, but it's really just sweet. That's why it's kind of like you want to keep going, because it's kind of, you get all these layers, like kind of, you get some vanilla, and then you get some fruit, and you get some like richer notes. It is very complicated.
It keeps floating different things out.
Yeah.
So, how about you, Zach? What do you?
Well, personally, I actually get the vanilla and butterscotch first on this. I mean, it's so, I don't want to say overpowering, but such a big part of the nose. After that, you get just a little bit of, I agree with the golden raisin, and a little bit of green apple. Like, there's just that tiny bit of astringency in there. And then afterward, I think the peat and kind of the ocean salt flavor blends into the background and just kind of fills in the cracks. But I mean, the more I nosed it, the more I could pick out just about anything that you can find in a Islay nose is there in perfect balance.
Yeah, it's very balanced. Yeah, that's part of why it's kind of hard, because there's not one thing that it's really jumping out at you about it. It's a lot of things that are all kind of mixing.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's how, I mean, but you want to keep nosing it.
Right, because it's
great.
so complicated,
So
kind of. You're like, ooh, what?
Yeah,
Ooh,
even
what
if
is
it's
that?
a little hard to pick out all the things that you're getting there. So, yeah. All right, well, here's the big moment.
You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Absolutely.
Oh, baby.
Oh, wow.
So, my first impression is a little different than I was expecting. But.
Yeah. It's so, I mean, I don't think I'm giving anything away. It's just so smooth. Like, very, man, the finish just goes and goes and goes.
In a very soft, warm way.
Yeah. I mean, I don't,
not burning whatsoever.
I don't want to jump the gun, but it's like walnuts and lots of butterscotch and caramel. Just a little bit of like salt. I mean, honestly, it's very sweet. You can tell it's an Islay. You can still tell it has that peat and character. But it's just so actually like rich, kind of. Not like viscous rich, just like all the flavors are like vanilla and like I said, like walnut was really strong in there for me.
What I've always liked in general about their whiskeys is, you know, if you think about like a Glenmorangie, the soft floral character of a Glenmorangie, it's almost like these are almost like if you can marry that with, you know, a strong Islay whiskey, this kind of, if you could just somehow combine the two, this is what you end up with.
No, that's fair.
I mean, I mean, there's no mistaking that it's an Islay, like, for sure.
When I first hit it, I got a lot more smoke than I was actually expecting
definitely.
to get. And it does soften, and it's just.
Yeah, on the palate, you get a little peat, a little smoke. The finish is where you get really all those richer flavors. That's why I was just sitting here like chewing on the finish of it. Like,
yeah, I certainly like your note about walnuts, because up front I got a little bit of bitterness in a pleasant way, which I don't get that from most Islay scotches. Usually that note's kind of buried in the mix, but straight up I got a little bit of like a buttery bitterness, not in a bad way. And then you're right, it goes straight into that peat flavor. And afterward, all the notes that showed up in the nose showed up in the tasting, just much more muted and drawn out throughout the finish.
Yeah, the finish is like this kind of cascading of different flavors that kind of pull through, you know, which is, you know, in drinking whiskey, that's my favorite element of a good whiskey is the way the finish just keeps going and keeps going and keeps
Kind of
going.
like a wave crashing on the shore.
Yeah.
Which is apropos for this type of whiskey.
It's not overly sweet either.
No.
That's something that surprised me, especially considering the nose.
But it's definitely not overly sweet, but I still would describe it as kind of sweet. Like it's, especially when you're thinking about Islays, you know. Like almost like cane sugar.
Yes.
Is definitely like, it's just this clean sweetness. It's really easy to drink.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're right too, because that sweetness, it's there, but it's not forced.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. That's why I said like cane sugar, because it's like it's sweet, but it's not like, you know, it's not loud in any way. It's just kind of there. As I keep going, I'm getting a lot more of the peat and the iodine and the smoke. That as I keep drinking,
I'm finding it as I'm breathing on the finish and just breathing in air, and then that's when I start to get the peat and the smoke back. You kind of start off with this, as you said, the sweetness and the white fruits, and then you get the vanilla and the butterscotch, and then the smoke comes late in the finish, the smoke and the salt.
It's very good.
Yeah,
43%.
86.
That is confusing to me how smooth it is.
Yeah.
Especially the more I drink it, the more I'm getting the vanilla butterscotch tones, like they're coming back into it. That's a good Islay.
But it's really, it is light though. It's not like, you're drinking something, not like drinking a rich Highland, whiskey. You're not drinking like a, Macallan or even, I think, obviously not like the sherry finish or something specific I'm thinking of. I can't quite put my finger on it at the moment.
What was the Islay kind of a mystery whiskey thing we did at Halloween? The one that you rated almost, it was a very high rating. I can't remember.
Are you talking about the Smokehead?
Yeah, Smokehead.
The Smokehead. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was a Colila. I don't know.
Yeah, I could see it. It was definitely a lot coarser than this, but I see the resemblance.
Yeah, well, so one of your favorite whiskeys you consider coarse compared to this.
Coarse compared to this for sure.
I don't want to jump ahead, but I feel some good scores coming.
I might have gave away my rating.
So it hasn't disappointed. I'll just say that much so far.
It's very good. Again, the thing that I think really stands out the most about this whiskey is actually its delicacy. It still is not heavy-handed with really anything that it's doing. It's just very smooth and complicated.
And it's all, I think it's all about balance.
Yeah.
Everything is balanced. Everything sits where you think it ought to.
I'm actually very surprised that this is through and through an 18-year-old Scotch. It definitely almost tastes like a blended Scotch in the way that it's so smooth. A lot of the time when you get these higher age statements, it can kind of go one way or the other. You leave it in the barrel that long, and something's bound to drift one way or the other. This is straight in the middle, like someone planned it that way.
Yeah.
I think what works for them is they keep their spirit. I think the spirit that goes in the bottle is always kind of light. That's my guess, just based on kind of the way all their whiskeys look. So I think maybe like Glenmorangie, and somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they might use tall neck stills to keep that spirit kind of a little more on the light side.
Yeah, now that you're mentioning it, I don't want to misspeak. I think.
But I wouldn't be surprised. Let's just say that if their pot stills are tall.
Yeah.
Maybe I think Glenmorangie has the record. But,
Yeah, definitely.
But I bet they approach that.
And do you know who has the largest? Do you remember who has the
largest?
The largest, like, volume stills? To get us all nice and off topic for the video.
No idea.
Ardbeg? What?
No, it's Glen Kinchy.
That's
the
right.
largest stills.
That's right.
Volume-wise.
Volume-wise, okay. I wonder who has the shortest neck.
Who's going to have a bucket in their backyard?
That would be Zach Freeze.
Oh, yeah. Those are my backyard experiments right there.
I was referring to, major commercial distillers.
Yeah.
But
also, just a note, because I know we haven't hit on it, the mouthfeel on this.
Oh, yeah.
Especially the further that you get into it, I mean, it presents as very light to start out with. But more and more, it just starts coating my mouth.
Yeah.
And especially if you keep it in your mouth for just a moment, it has this velvety feel. Fantastic all around. That's all I got to say.
We don't usually on a tasting get to re-pouring, but I think in this case I'm going to.
Well, I nurse mine.
Yeah, you're nursing. But it has a very creamy mouthfeel.
It's like
adds to the overall.
Now I can really put my finger after that last taste. I can really put my finger on it. It tastes like Honey Nut Cheerios, kind of.
Cal Islay 18. It tastes like Honey Nut Cheerios.
No, but it's got like a little bit of that. It's like the way the nut and the honey, but it's not. It's like
I mean that. I haven't said it much, but you're right about the walnut nut kind of. But not skins, Jennifer. But just there's kind of a walnut in there.
Yeah.
That
I mean, you could say. I mean, for me, it's definitely like a walnut because it's kind of a little bit sweet and it's definitely.
I love that though because it's the last leg that this needs to stand on because so many whiskeys I think don't have that bitterness and depth.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love bitter things, and this is by no means a bitter whiskey, but it's there just enough to make you appreciate the sweetness.
Right.
Exactly. That's why beer uses hops, right? Yeah. To create some bitterness that balances the
exactly.
sweet
You
of
need
the
to
malt.
have that, and also it's just a more complicated texture, when you get that kind of stuff.
Some of your best overall flavored items have some amount of bitterness to them.
Yep.
In balance, so wow.
Well, thank you very much for sharing with us.
My pleasure.
Honored to be here.
Obviously, something I've been waiting for a long time to re-sample.
Yeah, for sure.
I've had my favorite whiskey sitting on the shelf for many years, and I always see it, and I said, well, for something special, we'll get to break into that. And now that I have a few extra bottles on reserve,
well, I'm really hoping they changed the laws so that you can import 700 milliliter bottles now. So I'm really hoping that this will be something that they start sending to America, because the whole reason you couldn't get it here was because they only make this in a 700 milliliter bottle.
That might be part of it.
And I think it was, you could not buy it in the States because we had a law that it has to be 750 milliliters, and a lot of distilleries are like, well, it's not worth doing an entire additional production run to make that difference. And then we changed the laws so you could start getting some of this stuff. And hopefully we see more of these.
So this is a British.
Yeah, British. That's the one you got at Talisker Distillery.
That's right. Yeah. So we'll have to look at the other ones after the episode here just to compare. But look, I guess we're kind of up. It's time to do the scoring. I will go last. Okay. Why don't let's start this time with Zach. What do you got?
I hesitate because I usually don't like scoring stuff this high. But this gets a 4.85 from me.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give it that all day long. This is my ideal Islay. You did not talk it up too much. It lived up to the hype.
I'd hope that it would speak for itself.
All right, my turn. Yeah, it's really good. I love that it has a lot of that Islay character, but it still has the light Caol Ila body, and just the thing that really stands out for this one versus like the 15 and the 12 to me is like just so much of that sweetness that is not really present in the same way in those other ones, and just this depth to it, the complication of the flavor palette, which I think is just really enjoyable, and it's just so smooth, and because of that complexity, it just makes you want to keep going back in to try to get a little more information on everything, and it's really lovely. I think, for me, I think I have to give it, I'm gonna come in probably just under Zach. I'm gonna give it a 4.75 for me. I think it's really exquisite. I mean, it's a great whiskey. It's just so much of the things I love in whiskey, and none of it's overbearing. It's very, very pleasant. I think that anybody who likes Scotch would love this whiskey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't think this Scotch is something that would be limited to, just Islay whiskey fans. I think this is an Islay whiskey that crosses a lot of barriers, and again, aside from the fact that it's rare and a little bit hard to find. I mean, it hasn't disappointed me. I'd still say right off the bat that it's still the best whiskey I've ever had. At least for the things that I look for and enjoy. I love Islay whiskeys. I love the really salty, peaty ones, strong ones from that, the Lagavulin 16 and the Talisker side of things. Well, Talisker is officially a Highland whiskey, but Kilcommons and the very spirited ones all the way, to the softer ones. And I just look, this is just so well balanced. It gives me the oceanic character that I love in Islay whiskeys, but it's so balanced with the sweetness. There's so many complex but pleasant flavors, and it all melts together just to me a very perfect way. And as Zach said, there's just enough bitterness to balance the candy notes, the sweet fruity notes in it, and then it finishes with that just right amount. And I'll just say right amount. That's because right amount of smoke, peat, and it just kind of leaves you with a nice, soft but lingering warm glow. More than there's certainly.
Agreed on that one.
And this is definitely, I can also say this is a whiskey that I wouldn't put water in it. I would not mess with it. Like, drink it neat.
Yeah,
for sure.
86 ABV.
I know,
86 proof.
Very,
you really need to do that.
Yeah. It's very, very mellow. Honestly, it makes me like, I would love to try to taste this at cask strength sometime. But I think that's
all right. Well, Caol Ila, you heard that?
Yeah.
Maybe,
I would love to give that something.
Gordon MacPhail or something.
I think this is really good. I wouldn't do anything to it. I wouldn't put water in it. I wouldn't put anything. I would just drink it neat. It does make me really curious to know what it would taste like at cask strength. Because it's so good. I mean, a lot of that delicacy is part of what makes it so wonderful, but I would just love to try it at a cask strength bottling.
I mean, I agree, but I would be afraid to do anything to this. I mean, it's right in that sweet spot.
I know, it's really swell.
But it would be interesting, nonetheless, maybe if a Gordon MacPhail or one of the private bottlers took a cask and said, we're going to just bottle this. The problem is the distillers decide what casks they're going to release, and usually it's the ones that don't quite fit
the mold.
exactly what they're going for. So, but
Oh yeah. It's just,
okay, so cut to the chase. So I'm here's my score. It hasn't disappointed, and it's not lost anything with time. It's a 4.95 for me. I'm leaving a little room because there might be a better whiskey out there somewhere. And I'll have a lot of fun over the coming years trying to find it. So, hey, that's it. Thanks everybody for joining us in this fun experience for us, at least.
Yeah.
And the tasting of the Cold Islay 18, my favorite whiskey. And back to me.
Congratulations on episode 100, Whisky Wizard.
Hey everyone, it's Lindsay, daughter of the Wizard. I just want to say happy 100th episode to the Whisky Wizard, and thank you for sharing all of your whiskey wisdom over these 100 episodes. I started off watching these episodes as a complete whiskey novice, not knowing anything, and I can say that I now have a way better understanding of whiskey, and I'm actually able to identify the character and flavor in whiskeys now, and that's a true feat, and I'm looking forward to only growing in that skill and learning to appreciate whiskey even more. So thank you, Wizard, and congratulations on 100 episodes.
Hey, Whisky Wizard, congratulations on your 100th episode. You know I gotta be me, right? Cheers.
Hey Whisky Wizard, it's your daughter Kayla here. I just wanted to say congratulations on 100 episodes. I'm so thankful that I got to be a part of quite a few Whisky Wizards, and I cannot wait to see what you do next. Congrats again.
Thanks to all who sent along those wishes and kind words. Special thanks again to Cameron and Zach for helping me out with the tasting. Glad that my Cold Islay 18 apparently has stood the test of time, and it didn't just become somehow legendary in my own mind. Well, that's about it for this edition. Look for the live Friday Whiskey Roundtable show at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on our YouTube page, with a link to the show also there on our Facebook page. Until then, remember, cheers, Slàinte, and remember to think responsibly. So long, folks.